can you see this person's perspective, but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
That's our Teri, refusing to stay in a victim mindset. Hey, girly. Teri, are you there? Are you here? Hello. Well, you look good. We're texting each other. Can you not hear me? It's one of these days. I swear to y'all. Well, I'm just going to, we're going to do this just a second. Okay. We're going to do this. Can y'all hear me okay? We're going to have all sorts of folks who are jumping in. Good morning, Brenda. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Elizabeth. Okay. I know. Teri looks great, but it looks like she can't hear you. It's exactly right. And we're working on it. We're working on it. Okay. Good. We got that. Okay. We got everybody where we can hear everybody. Now let's see if Teri can.
Teri, I can hear you.
There we go. Here we are. Look how good you look today. What you doing?
Thank you, darling. I'm living my best life. What you doing?
Taking stuff out of my bucket.
All right. Yeah, I know. I was like, what are we even talking about today?
Yep. I said, we're going to have that bucket and we're going to, there's something about having it on the bucket list. And I said, a lot of people get all caught up in they're stuck in yesterday, but we can get stuck in someday just as easily.
Absolutely.
Someday I'm going to do that. I'm going to get around to that one day.
But that's that stuff that needs to, like you said, I guess if you've got a list, if you've got a bucket list or a to-do list, it needs to come off that list if you're not going to do it today.
How do we become more of a person of action?
By taking action.
Okay. Okay. Well, that just seems like easy.
Well, I mean, give me an example. Like what's the example?
Well, to go from procrastinator to activator, because I'm bad about not getting things on the list and getting them done. I've got a to-do list, but then my do list doesn't always happen. And my done list is really short.
Okay. Your done list is short, but your to-do list is long.
Yeah. It's hard for me to move past that into being moving into the action of it for some reason.
So a question there would be, how much actual stuff do you have on the to-do list that needs to get done right now and today? Like today.
Yeah. A few.
Like, how many? Like, are they realistic though?
For me, yeah. They're pretty realistic. And sometimes I think that the reason that I procrastinate is because the things I procrastinate on are things I really don't want to do. So that's what I'm trying to refine my list. And if I don't want to do those things, I'm learning when to take those off.
So are they things that have to be done? There's a difference in things that you don't want to do and you leave it on your list because you got to do it.
Yeah.
And things that you really don't want to do and you would rather not do it, and you will it'll be on the list for 5 years and you still won't do it. So doctor's appointments, just create the space to do them and do them. Cleaning out the gutters. Don't want to do it? Don't put it on the list for 6 months. Hire someone to do it.
Right. Good point. Elizabeth says, Lordy, I'm good at filling up the bucket list and not checking anything off. Angie. Hey, Angie, I haven't seen she's my sister down in Louisiana. And we do have things that we just don't get to. I'm absolutely great at taking the items off the list when they involve something to do for others. When they're just for me, they typically stay on the list. Okay.
So then that would be assessing why you're not a priority. Just saying. But making ourselves a priority is one of the ways that we, because here's the thing. Otherwise, we're not being transparent with our need or our desire to, like if I say, I just help everybody, and I do everything I can for everybody, and I'm always there to help people and yada, yada, yada. I'm actually being kind of hypocritical if I'm really not helping myself. Now, what we will do is we will align ourselves with a lot of people who are more than happy to have us help them because they don't want to do it themselves.
Oh, I know that's true. Angie said, love you. You got to get to my to-do list today. Great points. And then Elizabeth, like, I'm scrunchy face here too. And yeah, yikes. We have a tendency not to put ourselves on our to-do list. And then there are those things that we've always wanted to do. And I have a gazillion people that have told me within my lifetime, because I was a writer. I've always been a writer. I mean, I started writing when I was in first grade, and I love telling people stories, and I've written for newspapers, and I've written for columns online and books. And that's another thing that people say, I've always wanted to write a book. So I'm helping a lot of people right now get that off their bucket list. And those kind of big projects like that, the book thing. What is one of the reasons that we procrastinate? Is fear one of the things of a project like writing a book or something like that? Or does it seem like it's just too big to undertake on our own?
Fear can come in there sometimes for people. For me, my fear is not that writing a book will not be successful. My fear is writing a book that it will be successful. And then what do I do with that success? Because then if I write a second book, then it's got to be even better than the first book, which we all know that's not necessarily true. But who's to say it would be better or not be better? Because if you believe that everything comes out as it's supposed to, then the right people will find it, or it'll help whoever it helps. But ultimately it helps you because it's your book to write anyway.
Marty Luffin said, I did a bucket list when I was in the 40s. It was full. As far as I know, there's nothing left on it. I've done everything, gone everywhere I ever wanted. Marty, you are a perfect example of someone who writes the list and it's like, I got to get a bigger bucket. It's like more stuff to do, more stuff to see. You don't let anything stop you. And that's what I love about you, Marty. You're so inspiring. Angie says, now here's an important thing. I keep getting life, family, dealing with what others have messed up, etc. Family distractions.
Okay. The question would be, are you fixing what other people have messed up? Or like you helping people with what they've messed up? That would be like one of the things to look at. Sometimes we'll have people that truly we get distracted because someone has fallen into something, then they need help with it. And so we're just going to help. But our pattern, if we are,
Angie's saying yes, that's the deal. Yeah.
So if our patterns are that we're helping all the time, we've got to get space and time to do things for ourselves. Otherwise, we spend all of our energy helping everybody else, and we don't have the energy or the bandwidth to do what we need to do for ourselves. And then more people need to be helped. And then our personal to-do list gets bigger and bigger and bigger until we just don't want to do anything but watch Netflix because we've got too much to do and it feels overwhelming.
Oh, by the way, have you seen The Last Kingdom? No.
I'm not.
I know. I swear to you, that's me. I mean, my distractions. I mean, when my list gets overwhelming, I'll just go on a binge. And, it's just, that's part of it.
Well, what if we didn't? Here's the thing. What if we didn't have bucket list comes from actually, before you kick the bucket, what's your list going to be? So what if we didn't really look at it as before we kick the bucket and we just had like a teacup list? so that we didn't have 50 things on our list, but we had 3 things on our list. And because there's a difference in, I want to see the Great Wall of China and I want to go to Mount Rushmore versus I need to fold the laundry. Those are big differences, right? I mean, so we got to,
Yeah.
I mean, so we got to be real with kind of what we're putting on there. Like a bucket list usually does not have a lot of chores and stuff on it. That's not, a bucket list is going to be more of those things where, you know, now write the book, you know, or write the screenplay could be chore and bucket if it falls in that livelihood category. But there's a big difference. So getting clear with what is a priority, you know, and don't put things on your list that are going to be that, you know, you're not going to do them anytime soon. Like if you know you need to clean your attic out, you know that if you live in Nashville and it's 150,000 degrees outside, your butt's not going to be trekking up to the attic to clean that anytime soon. So put that on another list that's a couple of months down the road, or put it on a future to-do list. Then it's there. You're not going to forget about it. We put things on the bucket list because we don't want to forget about it. But they are not bucket, but the to-do list. And then things get, there's so much on there, we're overwhelmed with it. And we don't want to do it at all.
We're getting a lot of comments about being overwhelmed. Joyce has brought up rejection as a reason for not doing something. You know, it's just there. And she adds I stay overwhelmed because I try to help everyone else solve their problems and just put mine on the back burner. That is a bad distraction that I think a lot of people, especially empaths, are very prone to. But when I realized that I was using other people's emergencies, so I had a reason for not getting mine done.
Right.
I was really convicted about that. You know, so it was a lot. And here's the other thing. I shut down.
Absolutely. And shutting down can come, and Angie probably knows this, shutting down can come with going, I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't have anything in my wheelhouse right now that will even let me go there. And then we will not do any of the things on the to-do list, and we do veg out. We will just zone out. We will self. If you're distracting yourself with Netflix, or if you're distracting yourself going over to cut your neighbor's yard when you know you need to fold your laundry at home, it still serves as a distraction, and we just go blank on it.
You know, Elizabeth, I love this. Like I recently binge watched Virgin River rather than crossing things off the list. Choices. I don't always make the one I should make. You know, give yourself some, you know, a little grace on that, because I did too binge watch Virgin River this weekend, maybe. And maybe, you know, and I like Corinne, I can't carry a bucket anymore, but I can do a teacup.
There you go. And that's the thing, is knowing, for instance, if I have a daily to-do list, which I do, it will be the things I need to do today. And then there's something that's like by Friday, I need to have these things taken care of. And my to-do list is like one piece of paper divided in half. The things on the left-hand column are what I'm going to knock out today. They're the things that I know I need to get done. The right-hand side of that column are things I'm going to get knocked out by the end of the week. So if I get my things done on the left-hand side column, I get to a la carte the right side. Like, you know what? I think, I do want to take care of that right now. And so I'll move that over, and I'll, but never overwhelming yourself where you have, I had a client that I worked with one time that had a to-do list, but their to-do list, when they came into my office, their to-do list was in a journal. The journal was probably a 5x7. Their to-do list that they wrote it every day, was the front and the back of one entire page. Like 50 things, like 25 on the front, 25 on the back. That wasn't that exact number, but, and every night before they went to bed, they wrote the to-do list out. And then if they got up in the morning and were having their coffee and they thought of something else they wanted to do, they squeeze that in there too. And after a couple of sessions and recognizing that to-do list, because what they would do is they would turn the page and then write them all again. So I went back and with permission looked at the book and recognized that there was like maybe 15 things in 3 weeks marked off. And so I asked them if they were open to just scrapping it. And so they agreed to just tear those pages out, throw them away. Talk about panic ensuing, because I know what that's like, right? But here's the thing. I said, now write the top 10 things that you need to get done today. And they could only come up with about 5.
Okay. Change the way you make your list. Or now Joe, I love, he says, Joe Rucker, to me, I threw out list a long time ago. It's good to have goals, but to me, it creates more pressure and anxiety to make it happen. I'd rather live in peace and hit one thing on my mental wish list once in a while. Oh, that's really nice. Mental wish list. That's really good.
Yeah. And it can be challenging when you're raising kids and you've got schedules and you've got all kinds of things going on. But here's also, there's a fine line there between making your kids become chronic to-doers or enabling your kids so that you do everything for them. So you got to find a healthy balance there so that they know the importance of accountability and autonomy in what they need to get done, but also not making them a slave to the to-do lists, because they can be really fun or they cannot be fun at all. And I find that when I work with people that write to-do lists on the back of envelopes and things like that, they're more begrudging to get them done. If you write them in a journal or in something that is, a pretty piece of paper or whatever, or a fun piece of paper, you're more apt to work on them because it's more eye-pleasing, even though it can be overwhelming.
Can we talk about illness with a family member? The caregiver syndrome is really tough. And we've got I know there are a lot of people on this list today that are joining us that have had sick relatives, sick spouses, people who are ill, people they've had to take care of, an elderly parent. And it gets so busy that it consumes everything. And then there's that weird place when that person is gone, when they transition, cross the bridge, whatever you use, when they go to heaven, it leaves you really untethered if someone else has become your to-do list for everything in your life.
So, and for some people, I work with people who really their network is not very big. I work with other people who have families at churches, kinds of things that, all the kinds of people they can call on. So if you don't have a large circle of friends or a large group of people you can call on, find someone that can hold space for you, because whether you have your Superman or your Wonder Woman cape on and you're walking around taking care, and if it has pockets on the back and people are putting all their little needs in those pockets, at some point when those people aren't there anymore, even with parents who suffer from, I say suffer, but I mean, they experience empty nest syndromes when their kids go to college. Suddenly there's that day is not filled up. Just like if you have a loved one that transitions, the day, suddenly everything is gone. So it's the equivalent of standing there and just untying that weighted cape that you've worn for so long, and then it drops and you can feel empty. You can feel naked. You can feel
untethered is a way that it's just untethered, like the thing. It's like
you can feel rudderless.
Balloon that flies around the room when you let go of it. It's not, the end's not tied anymore. Yeah. Susan says, what a great time for me to hear this, especially shutting down. Got to make different decisions to take care of me first. As my mom used to say, take care of yourself first. Otherwise, you can't take care of or help others. Definitely.
And also, and I go back to this a lot, and I know it's a touchy thing to talk about with people sometimes, but knowing who you're taking care of. Now, I get it. We got, we can have parents, or we can have siblings, or we can have people in our life that need us. They need our help. And there's sometimes there's an obligation to help. Sometimes you just do it because you want to do it.
Right.
And then sometimes we muddy that line with helping and taking care of people who really are taking advantage of us because we're giving them the advantage.
Right.
And so we feel our sense of feeling important, useful, all of those things are filled with an instant dopamine rush and instant gratification, even if we are begrudgingly doing those things because we don't have the energy, because we're tired, because we're whatever we are. And also sometimes because it's never reciprocated back by those people. And if we stop and think about that, we all have someone in our life, or we are that person, whether we like to admit that or not, that is either helping all the time, and many times just it makes us feel important. It makes us feel important to have a big to-do list because we're go-getters and we can accomplish anything, and we're important and we can do this.
Right.
That's not good, bad, or indifferent. It's just very taxing on our emotional well-being and our physical well-being because we train ourselves to be busy. And if we have little ones,
Yes.
we train the little ones to be busy. And I really believe in part, and granted, I don't diagnose or prescribe. We have a generation of young adults right now and adolescents right now that it drives them crazy to be bored, to have nothing to do, because we conditioned people. We got to go here at 3, then we're there at 4:30, and then we're going to go home and we're going to grab fast food on the way home. And hey, there's no judgment, right? We do what we do, but we're going to grab fast food on the way home, and then we got to be here at 7, and then I'm exhausted. Okay, well, so-and-so needs me to do this, so I got to do this. And we do it because in part we're wanting to help, but in part the brain is conditioned not to say no. And until
amen.
And until we start saying it.
And this right here can be a blessing or a curse.
Mm-hmm.
I used to feel bad if I didn't have something in every square.
Mm-hmm. Oh, girl.
Now, I know. But it's the deal. I felt a lot of pressure. And I have learned that saying no, I have someone dear to me, that has asked me to go to something a couple of weeks from now. And I love him. If he's watching this, I love you. And I want to go to his thing so bad, but I have got 2 other things and I know it's going to sap my energy. It won't even be safe for me to get in the car and drive after that because I get tired. And there was a time in my life when I was boundless energy. That ain't now. I still do more than the average bear, but I've learned the freedom in no is a complete sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a freedom in that. And I want everybody here to write down no is it's a freeing place. And you can say no with love and with grace. And it's all right to just say, I don't have any more gas in my tank.
Well, and some people will say, no, I don't have any more gas in my tank. And then other people will feel shame for saying they don't have gas in their tank because everybody else should have gas in my tank. I'm not having to deal with what this other person's having to deal with. And so the least I could do. And we as a culture get ourselves in this, we get ourselves in the trap of saying, if you got a to-do list, make it a to-do T list, make it little and have one thing on there that's good for you that day.
Oh, that's what Angie said. I feel accomplished if I can finish 1 or 2 projects a day. And I think that's good.
But also put something on your to-do list that feels good to you.
Ooh, that's important.
Yeah,
not just the chores of the day, not just the task of the day, but the joys of the day.
Absolutely. I mean, it can even be something that is for people like, I love my hummingbird feeders. I mean, I got 2 of them. So I love them. And the hummingbirds have just started coming. So one of that's not even on my list, because I do it every day. And I say every day, I really do it every day. Even if I have to be at my office at 7:30 for a client, I get up earlier and I do it. I go out, I check the bird feeders. I have my coffee on the patio. I watch for the fox that I feed. I watch for the deer to come by. And I live in Nashville. So, if we're talking about fox and deer in the middle of downtown Nashville, I'm not in downtown, but I'm close. But I don't make that time. I allow that time.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to put that.
I allow myself that time to sit there and drink my coffee and feel the breeze and whatever. And if it's super hot outside, then you know what? I'll sit in my living room, because I love my living room, and I'll open the curtains up and I'll just allow myself time to sit there and have my, my cup of coffee. And, I don't fret with, I got to make my to-do list right now, and I got to do this and I got to do that, because all of that is just taking away from that beautiful moment that you're allowing to happen with other stuff.
I just love this. I love this. Elizabeth, says that's a great idea. I need to not keep adding to the list, but rather look at it, prioritize, and only have a list with a few high priority tasks, adding, and I need to decide if my to-do list is really right for me, as opposed to what I think it should be. Does anyone really care if closet is organized by color?
Hey, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. I'll tell you this, Elizabeth, I recently, and I had said it's not on my to-do list because it was not a priority for me, but it was in the back of my mind that I want all my hangers to be the same kind, and I want to prioritize them by color, and that's gonna feel good. Well, then I realized that did not work for me, because I am a sleeveless to long sleeve kind of gal. I don't like things that I like it to be sleevey rather than the other. And it took me, I bought the things to do it and put them in my closet. And I looked at the closet. I don't even have a big closet. I looked at my closet and I was like, is this really bringing me joy right now in this moment? Nope. I don't feel like doing this closet. So those coat hangers laid in the bottom of my closet, which my closet is organized, but they laid in the bottom of my closet for probably 3 weeks. And then one day I went in there and I was like, I opened the closet and I was like, let's do this. And I did it. And doing things that way is so much more soul pleasing than feeling like every time you open your closet, oh my God, I got to get this done. I haven't done it yet. I'm so lazy. I don't know why I'm not doing this. I should do this. Blah, 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 blah. Like, who's going to come in your house? Like, for real. If you want to come in my house and look at my closets, look at my closets. And if you think they look like shit, well, that's on you, not me. I don't care. They don't bother me. So I agree with Elizabeth. It doesn't matter if your clothes are color coordinated. It matters to you. And that's what's important. If you open your closet and you're like, ooh, I love this, then yay you. But don't open your closet and go, oh my God, I've just, this closet is a wreck. If it's a wreck and it's a priority, organize it. If it's not, let's not self-judge.
Absolutely. We got Shalane, who has not been with us, that I recognize because I love that name. I definitely take care of others and things first. Get so overwhelmed from my own must-dos. I'm trying to work on myself more. Mm-hmm. Good for you.
And we have to be careful when we get overwhelmed with our must-dos, because our must-dos fall in line with our should-dos, and they fall in line with our, well, if you're not doing this, you're not doing enough list. And then what happens is we get, as Shalane just said, we get depleted and defeated. Mm-hmm. How about that? I just threw 2 words into one. We get completely taxed by it. And then we feel bad. No, we don't feel bad. We judge ourselves for not getting things done.
Right.
So learning to step back. I mean, I have a client that said to me one day, I'm exhausted by the time I work a full day. I get home, I have to cook dinner, I have to yada, yada, yada. And I was like, what are your kids doing during the summer? They're in middle school, you know, and going into high school, or junior high and high school. And I said, what are the kids doing during the summer? Well, they're staying home and they're doing this and they're doing that. I said, have you ever asked them to set the table and to start prepping some of the stuff for dinner? And she was like, no, because that's my job. And I said,
whoa.
Wait, what? I was like, is it your job to eat all the food? Well, no. I mean, they eat dinner. Well, then they can help. And once she implemented that, the kids are like, oh my God, this is great, because it gives them a purpose to help out, and they feel a sense of accomplishment, and they feel a sense of being included in what's happening.
Amen. Asking for help is huge. And I think whether it's your kids, whether it's friends, whether it's people, to be able to say, hey, I need help. That was the hardest thing for me to ever do. Hardest thing for me to ever do is, because I can do it all, right? No, I can't. Angie brings up something else too. She was dealing with a lot of illness in her family and elderly parents, and then a hurricane hit her house.
Oh,
destroyed it. I mean, she just like, it's been a year or two or five for Angie. And so those are things, those act of God things that come along. I mean, I bought my place for my barn and lightning struck the barn and it burned down and within 2 weeks of me buying the place. And it was just like, and
I remember when you called me and told me that, I was in shock. I was just like,
I know, I couldn't even wrap around it. And it's still not back where it's supposed to be, but you know, we do what we do. And I learned that it didn't have to be perfect. The outside of the barn is built and the horses can get under there. The blind cow can get under there. All God's children can get under they can get out of the elements, which is why you have a barn. Okay. It's not perfect. It's not like I bought it, but will it work? Yeah.
Well, question for you, Devon. Question for you, Devon. Does Stevie think it's perfect?
Oh yeah, he thinks it's great. In the middle of winter, when I've got the heat lamps in there, he's like the one animal that's in there under his heat lamp, just laying down.
Okay.
Awesome.
So your perception that it's not perfect doesn't actually mean that it's not perfect, because it's perfect for him and it's perfect for the horses. It's just your perception that it could be better.
Amen.
But don't we do that to everything?
Yeah.
If we lose 50 pounds, but I could lose 60. If we, get, whatever, color your hair, but it could be a different color. If we as human beings have this incredibly twisted way, and we're brilliant at it, of always one-upping our own, but it could be whatever. And it could be, sure, but why not just appreciate what it is?
Oh, I know. I hear it all the time. Songwriters go, I just wish I could get a song cut. And then they go, yeah, but this person's not even releasing music anymore. Yeah, but it didn't go top 10. Well, gosh, I wish it'd gone to number 1. I mean, it's all this stuff. And we do that. We find those things instead of going, initially you wanted to get a song recorded by somebody. And you got that. Every time we get something, we go, okay. And it's all right to have goals to achieve, always look ahead and go, what can I do now? But as long as you don't belittle the accomplishments that you've achieved on the way there. Joyce is with us. And when I take care of my mother after stroke for 2 years, I just felt disconnected from life, but I do not regret it. My father's 83 now, and I have to check in on him, but not heavy duty care yet.
Sure. And we can be checked in. We can be pulled away and checked out from life, and we don't have to regret that. There's no, some people are checked out of life and they just, they don't want to check back. Good without all the busyness. I'm good without all that. And that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Angela, me, 7 years having my father-in-law in our home and just transitioning to adding hospice care. I am overwhelmed. I can barely take care of myself anymore. That's the other thing is I think a lot of us found this after the pandemic, y'all putting on pants seemed like the chore of all chores to go out and be in public again after I stayed home. And I didn't mean I wasn't going without pants, but I'm wearing pajama pants every day. I mean, getting ready and the day to day, okay, I've got to be in front of people. Hair in a scrunchie. Someone saw my hair yesterday. They said, gosh, your hair's gotten really long. It's because most of the time it's up in a scrunchie on top of my head and I don't do anything with it. And it just occurred to me, I go, we forget how to take care of ourselves. We forget because we get so focused on everybody else's needs, and we realize, ever see a picture of you when you were in a period of your life when you were the caregiver? And everybody gets their picture. Everybody looks great, except you look like a bedraggled wet rat or whatever. You're on the side of, and you didn't know at the time that was you, but you look back and you go, oh my God, was it that bad? Yeah, it can be that bad. Brenda says, as a caregiver, you feel empty and lost. Yeah, darn tootin' you do. But we can change that.
Well, we can feel empty and lost and completely overwhelmed at the same time. There's this paradox that happens when we are caregivers or caretakers, where we can feel completely overwhelmed, filled to the brim, cannot do another thing, but feel completely empty and depleted at the same time. And that is when we have to, and I say this a lot to people, you got to ask for help. And that's an easy thing to say to people. It's not so easy for some people to do it. And it's not because people are out there trying to be martyrs and trying to save the world. It's just because sometimes you're the only person that can actually do what has to be done. And that's not a fun place to be for anybody.
That's right.
So that's why I say, even if it is 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day, just for you. I've got a client that's a caregiver, and she says the best part of her day, not that she doesn't love the people that she's caring for her client, her parents, but what she does, she starts her day and she ends her day in her car with the radio off, just sitting in the car in the dead silence. And she just does some deep breathing. And it's not because she's frustrated, and it's not because she's overwhelmed, and it's not because she had a horrible day or she's dreading the day. She just gives herself 10 minutes a day.
This is my time. This is my time. Yeah.
Mine is at night. Comes through, put your phone on silence. You're just talking about 5 or 10 minutes. Now, if you're holding vigil for someone who's transitioning or passing away, you're not going to give yourself 5 or 10 minutes. You're going to hold that vigil, and then you're going to take care of yourself after that. But we're not talking about people actively, you're not sitting there with someone who's actively dying and going, oh, I need to go suck my feet for a few minutes. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about creating a healthy habit for yourself during the day.
I love it. The most guilt, Joe says, is having a sick or elderly loved one states away. We make promises to ourselves to travel there more, but life just doesn't allow it. Boy, the last 2 years have been a lot of that. We put the heavy guilt on ourselves because we can't do more. Mm-hmm. That happens a lot, but letting go of that is something we have learned to do, or we've learned we have to do that this year, because so many people said goodbye over an iPad, and it was hard and it was terrible. But I will say, when those people transition, they're all around you. They're no longer encased in that. And that's where we have to put it. We didn't get our goodbyes. So I think there are a lot of people suffering for the goodbyes that they didn't get to say.
Well, and there's a lot of people who, a lot of times I hear people say, well, if your parents live in another state, just FaceTime them. And I'm like, okay, well, if your parents are 60, 70, well, maybe not 60. Well, maybe they are 60 and they still don't know technology too well, or they're not interested in technology. But if your parents are 70, 80, 90 years old, odds are they're not going to be whipping up FaceTime and, calling you on an iPhone. So calling on the phone and, talking. And is it the same? No, it's not. But is it something we can do? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
You know, I have clients that I tell them their parents live out of state, and I tell them, they're like, I just want to call them and talk to them. And I'm like, write them a letter. Because parents come from a different generation. They don't come from a techie generation. I have had senior parents tell me when they have called me because their adult child has sent them a letter, they've asked permission to call me and thank me for them writing a letter, because they come from a generation where getting a card or getting a letter handwritten or, written out in a card means so much, because that's the generation they come from.
Well, it's also a tangible thing that doesn't go away. You don't hang up the phone and it's in the ether. It is something that you refer back to. It's there, and if you're a parent and you get something from your child, you remember teaching your child how to write. You worked with you remember the first letters. You had the refrigerator art up. So imagine, go, wow, she still makes her B that way. She still makes her S's that way. Gosh, he still always misses when he crosses his T, So those are those little things. You don't realize what memories you bring up when you send a letter to someone. Shalane adds, I have an event this weekend. It's like 6 hours away. Really wanted to go. Having to tell myself it's okay not to attend. It's really bothering me. I know that I should not go, but struggling, feeling guilty. Just my feelings. Needed to take this off my list. Oh, Shalane, hearing you there. I had to cancel something I really wanted to do, but it's just not the time of year when I can do it.
Right. And also looking at why your needs, or why our needs to take ourselves off of a list are not important enough, or not as important as the need to please another person.
Y'all, did you hear that? Say that one more time.
Examining, reflecting, or contemplating on why our need to remove ourselves from a list is not as important as our need to please another person or persons. Most of the time it's, we don't want to let that person down. We don't want them to feel a certain way about us because we didn't show up. We don't want them to XYZ, whatever. But we have to look at that and go, okay, so, I had somebody tell me one time, I can't attend this wedding and I feel really bad about it, so bad about it. And I said, well, do you want to attend the wedding? And they were like, well, I mean, kind of, yeah, but kind of no, because, and they gave their reasons. And at the end of the day, what happened was, and I said to them, there are 200 people coming to this wedding. Whether or not you show up, I mean, I said this, and it was, me, I'm direct. I was like, unless you're the mother or the father or the bridesmaid or the groomsman, if you're a guest in the 56th row back, your presence is not that important that you're going to rock their world and ruin their day. But sometimes we are made to think, from parents and other people, that if we don't show up, we're letting down, disrespecting, not being, and we're going to hurt someone's feelings.
Oh,
that's not necessarily the case.
Dennis joins us from Iowa. Good to see you there, Dennis. We're bringing this thing to a close, and Shalane says, I'm so bad at this.
You're not bad at it. You're not bad at it.
No. We're just trying to get through. Heck, I'm getting overwhelmed with all the tomatoes I got growing. Going to be canning soon. See,
there you go.
There's is when all else fails, make lemonade. Can the tomatoes. Oh, I love this. Someone once told me the word "but" negates everything you said just before.
It does. I've lost a lot of weight, but I need to lose more. Well, you just then just slapped in the face all the work you've done because you haven't done enough.
And Joy says, I'm a total people pleaser. I always have been. It makes me struggle the older I get. Helen says, agreed. Helen, good for have you here. Hey, Ken, there's Ken. We're glad to have you here. Glad you liked it. And we're closing things out. Thank you all. Susan says, great topic, valuable info. Walking away from my to-do list, off to play ukulele.
Yes. Woo-hoo! I
And
love
play with those beagles, Susan. I know she's a beagle girl. Hey, y'all, we are here each and every week on Wednesdays, and your comments make the show. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure you go to Transcending Turbulence and subscribe. Teri Pugh, tell them how they can find out a little bit more about you.
You can find me at teripugh.com or on just about any, well, not any, Instagram and Facebook. That's where I hang out socially. I will say this. When I hear people like Joyce, and Joyce, I'm calling you out on this, honey. I love you lots. But when people say that's just who I am, or that's who I've always been, that is who we might have always been. But if we're a people pleaser, we can't forget that we ourselves are people. So we have to turn some of that feeling good onto ourselves. We have to include ourselves in that. And we're taught to be those things. We're not born as babies to just be people pleasers or fixers or doers.
This is great. Everybody is just giving the thank you so much. And y'all, I've started this show because I asked Teri to join me every week. I said she is the busiest person I know because she coaches full time. And I love you too, Angie. I wanted y'all to get what I was privy to because what Teri brought me through saved my life. And I ain't even joking. And if you need help, I want you to get it. And teripugh.com is how you make an appointment. It makes me tear up every time. It's because you walked me through the fire, girl, through the valley of the shadow. And you and Jesus. And it was just it. That was where I was. And so I want to tell you, if you need help, I cannot recommend her higher because you give this to so many people. And I wanted the world to know about you.
Well, I appreciate you. And I love you. I do. I love you more than, what do you say? Lunch and jewelry. I don't wear a lot of jewelry, so, lunch.
I love you more than lunch. There you go. There you go.
I love you more than Chinese food, Devon.
Okay.
I love me some Chinese food.
I know you and me both. Hey, speaking of, that's the last thing. Put somebody you love on your to-do list. Put them on the calendar somewhere. And that's where I learned from Teri. You got to put yourself on the calendar and it will happen. But do something fun once a week, at least once a week, and do something for yourself once a day. So
absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
And I will just say in closing that, again, to piggyback on what Devon said, we appreciate each and every one of you and your comments and your sharing and your vulnerability to share, not just with us, but with the world. Because we all know if you put it on social media, it's out there forever. So whatever that means. And we appreciate you all. So until we see you next week, yes. Oh, Elizabeth loves you more than pizza and Netflix. Good deal. Good deal. Well, until we see you all next week, please create or work towards or consider, lean into creating memorable and intentional moments that fill your heart and your mind with peace and increase your peace.
Amen.